Early this month, tensions between the US and Canada reached a breaking point when President Donald Trump announced steep new tariffs on Canadian goods. He justified the move by citing concerns over illegal immigration and the growing fentanyl crisis in the US. As part of the policy, all Canadian imports would face a 25% tariff, while energy products would be taxed at a slightly lower rate of 10%, with both set to take effect on February 4th, 2025. Canada wasted no time in responding. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hit back with a 25% tariff on $30 billion worth of American goods, including beer, bourbon, fruit juices, clothing, sports equipment, and household appliances. But that was just the beginning. He warned that after a public review period, the tariffs could expand to cover an additional $125 billion in U.S. products. Just as the situation seemed to be escalating, a breakthrough came. After high-stakes discussions, Trump and Trudeau agreed to delay the tariffs for 30 days. In return, Canada promised to strengthen its border security by appointing a fentanyl czar and working with U.S. officials to create a joint task force to combat drug smuggling. While this temporary pause offered some relief, reactions within Canada were mixed. Some saw it as a necessary compromise, while others worried that it wouldn't prevent economic damage in the long run. Even with the delay, concerns remained high. Economists warned that if the tariffs eventually went into effect, they could lead to higher prices for consumers, disruptions in supply chains, and a strain on the historically strong trade relationship between the two countries. This growing uncertainty pushed Canada to start looking for new trade opportunities, particularly in Asia. Alberta, home to much of the country's oil and natural gas industry, began developing a strategy to diversify its exports beyond the U.S. to avoid over-reliance on a single market. Japan, which has increasing energy needs, became a major focus. To speed up this transition, Trudeau called for an economic summit, bringing together business leaders, policy experts, and labor unions to discuss ways to reduce Canada's dependence on U.S. trade. Part of the plan included boosting internal commerce and reconsidering previously scrapped energy projects to make it easier for Canada to export oil and gas to international buyers. At the same time, public sentiment took a dramatic turn. Recent polling showed that 90% of Canadians now support reducing economic reliance on the U.S., a significant jump from before the tariff threat surfaced. Meanwhile, Canadian companies began adjusting to the shifting trade landscape. Suncor Energy, one of the country's largest oil producers, reassured investors that it was better positioned than most to handle potential U.S. tariffs. Unlike competitors that rely almost entirely on selling oil to the U.S., Suncor has the ability to ship much of its production through the Trans Mountain Pipeline to British Columbia's coast, allowing it to reach global markets rather than being forced to sell primarily to American buyers. Even with these efforts, Canada's deep economic ties to the U.S. won't be easy to unwind. For decades, America has been Canada's main customer for oil and gas, shaping the country's trade policies and energy strategies. Now, with the threat of tariffs looming, Canada is being forced to rethink its entire economic future. Before we proceed, I would like to ask you a question. Do you think the U.S. is being too hard on Canada? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Let us continue. For years, Canada has leaned heavily on the United States to buy its oil and natural gas, with nearly all of its crude exports flowing south of the border. Alberta, the country's energy powerhouse, has been at the heart of this trade, supplying most of the fuel. In 2022 alone, Canada shipped $22.4 billion worth of natural gas to the U.S., reinforcing just how deeply connected the two countries are when it comes to energy. But this heavy reliance comes with risks. Recently, the U.S. has hinted at new tariffs on Canadian energy products, sending a wave of concern through Canada's energy sector. The possibility of higher taxes on oil and gas exports has put pressure on Canadian leaders to rethink their trade strategy and look for new buyers outside of North America. With tensions rising, Canada has been eyeing Asia, specifically Japan, as a promising alternative market. The Asia-Pacific region's demand for energy is soaring, and Japan, as one of the world's top buyers of liquefied natural gas, LNG, is in constant need of new suppliers. In 2023, Japan imported about 66 million tons of LNG, second only to China. While the country has been shifting toward nuclear and renewable energy, Its power needs are expected to rise with the expansion of data centers and other energy-hungry industries. If cleaner alternatives like hydrogen and ammonia don't scale up fast enough, Japan's LNG demand will likely keep growing, creating an opportunity for Canada to step in. Unlike other major LNG exporters, Canada has a unique advantage. Its west coast is much closer to Japan than the US Gulf Coast. A shipment from Vancouver to Tokyo takes about 11 days, while gas coming from the US often has to travel through the Panama Canal, adding time, costs, and logistical headaches. On top of that, Canada's LNG is known for being 40% less carbon intensive than US LNG, making it a more attractive option for countries focused on reducing emissions. Recognizing this potential, Alberta's Minister of Environment and Protected Areas, Rebecca Schultz, has been actively building energy ties with Japan. During a recent visit to Tokyo, she met with key industry players, including JERA, Japan's largest LNG buyer. Touring their Futsu thermal power station and LNG intake facility, Schultz discussed how Alberta could help secure Japan's future energy supply. She also held talks with leaders from the Japan Gas Association, which oversees the country's gas distribution, as well as executives from JOGMEC, Japan Oil, Gas, and Metals National Corporation, a group responsible for ensuring stable energy imports. These meetings focused on investment opportunities in Alberta's growing LNG sector and how both countries could strengthen their energy partnership. At the center of this collaboration is LNG Canada, a massive export terminal being built in Kitimat, British Columbia. With a price tag of $40 billion, it is the largest energy investment in Canadian history. The project, backed by energy giants like Shell, Petronas, PetroChina, Mitsubishi, and Kogas, will process and export natural gas from British Columbia's Montney Formation. Once operational in mid-2025, it will produce 14 million tons of LNG per year, with plans to double that output in a second phase. Japanese companies are already deeply involved. Mitsubishi holds a 15% stake in LNG Canada, showing just how important this partnership is for Japan's energy security. As Canada ramps up infrastructure development, British Columbia is set to become a major hub for LNG exports, supplying not just Japan but also other energy-hungry markets in Asia and beyond. The location for this massive undertaking wasn't chosen by chance. Kitimat, British Columbia, offers everything needed for smooth LNG exports: an industrial-friendly zone, a deep-water port that stays ice-free all year, and existing infrastructure that makes it easier to ship gas to markets in Asia. Construction is moving fast, with more than 95% of the first phase already completed. If all goes according to plan, the first shipment of Canadian LNG will set sail by mid-2025, marking a significant step toward Canada becoming a major player in global energy exports. While this large-scale project garners attention, it's not the only one making waves. A smaller but equally important facility is coming to life in Squamish, British Columbia. Built on the site of an old pulp mill, this wood fiber LNG project is taking a different approach. It's focused on sustainability. Unlike traditional LNG plants, this facility will run on electric power, significantly cutting down emissions. It's also a collaborative effort with the Squamish Nation, ensuring that cultural and environmental concerns are addressed from the ground up. By working closely with Indigenous partners, the project has gained strong community support, making it a model for responsible energy development. Meanwhile, another groundbreaking initiative is emerging in Kitimat, but this one is unique. Cedar LNG, a project led by the Haisla Nation, is setting a new precedent as an Indigenous-led energy venture. In partnership with private sector investors, the goal is to build a facility that can export 3 million tons of LNG annually while generating long-term economic benefits for the local community. Cedar LNG is also pushing the boundaries of green energy, incorporating low-emission technologies and electrification to reduce its carbon footprint. With its location near existing energy infrastructure, the project is expected to operate efficiently, with the first shipments targeted for late 2028, pending final approvals. Further north, another ambitious LNG venture is taking shape. Kesilisim's LNG, developed in partnership with the Nisga'a Nation, is set to be one of the largest LNG projects in Canada. Located near Gingolks, British Columbia, this facility will stand out for its floating LNG technology, allowing for the processing and export of natural gas in a more flexible and efficient manner. With an estimated 12 million tons of LNG production per year, Kaysai Lysim's LNG is gearing up to play a major role in Canada's growing energy sector. But size isn't the only thing that makes this project unique. A key focus is environmental responsibility. The facility will be powered by hydroelectric energy, making it one of the lowest carbon LNG producers in the world. If everything moves forward as planned, operations could begin between 2027 and 2030, boosting Canada's overall LNG export capacity and strengthening its position in international energy markets. One major advantage all of these projects share is location. Being on Canada's west coast means significantly shorter shipping routes to Asia, particularly Japan, compared to LNG facilities on the US Gulf Coast, which often require longer transit times and costly passage through the Panama Canal. By cutting both travel time and expenses, Canadian LNG exporters are positioning themselves as strong competitors in the global market. Beyond energy, Canada and Japan have built a solid trade relationship over the years. As of 2023, Japan ranked as Canada's fourth largest trading partner, with bilateral trade reaching 36.5 billion Canadian dollars. Canada's exports to Japan totaled 15.8 billion Canadian dollars, while imports from Japan were valued at 20.7 billion Canadian dollars. This trade partnership is further strengthened by agreements like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, which has helped reduce trade barriers and expand market access between the two nations. With Canada's LNG industry gaining momentum, Japan's growing energy needs, and strong trade agreements in place, both countries are well positioned to deepen their economic ties in the years ahead. Trade between Canada and Japan is a carefully balanced exchange, where each country plays to its strengths. While Canada sends over vast amounts of natural resources and agricultural goods, Japan returns the favor with high-tech machinery, vehicles, and electronics. This two-way flow keeps both economies connected and allows them to support each other's industries. For Japan, energy security is a growing priority, and Canada is quickly emerging as a reliable supplier of liquefied natural gas, LNG, coal, and propane. These fuels power everything from Japanese homes to massive industrial facilities. Canadian metallurgical coal, a key ingredient in steel production, is also in high demand, ensuring that Japan's construction and manufacturing industries have the materials they need. Beyond energy, agriculture plays a major role in this trade relationship. Canada is the world's largest producer of canola, and Japan is one of its biggest buyers, using it for cooking oils and food processing. Wheat, soybeans, pork, and beef from Canada also help sustain Japan's food supply, with strict quality control measures ensuring these products meet Japan's high standards. But it's not just food and fuel. Canada's mineral wealth, copper, nickel, and iron ore feeds directly into Japan's high-tech industries, supporting everything from electronics to car manufacturing. Pharmaceuticals and forest products also make their way across the Pacific, adding further diversity to Canada's exports. While Canada supplies the raw materials, Japan delivers the finished products. Cars, trucks, and automotive parts are among Japan's biggest exports to Canada, with companies like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan not only shipping vehicles, but also producing them within Canada's borders. Beyond automobiles, industrial machinery, advanced medical devices, and scientific instruments make up a significant portion of Japan's exports, supplying Canada's hospitals, factories, and research labs with cutting-edge technology. This economic relationship has been developing for more than a century. In the early 1900s, both countries saw the potential for trade and began exchanging goods like timber, fish, and manufactured products. During this time, Japanese immigrants also started arriving in Canada, contributing to the country's cultural diversity, but facing significant challenges, including discrimination. World War II brought a devastating shift in this relationship. As allies of opposing sides, Canada and Japan found themselves in direct conflict, leaving lasting scars on their diplomatic and economic ties. One of the darkest chapters was the internment of Japanese Canadians, which saw thousands forcibly removed from their homes, detained and stripped of their property under the guise of national security. The impact of these actions lingered for decades, influencing reconciliation efforts and shaping the way both nations move forward. After the war, Canada and Japan took steps to rebuild their relationship, moving past a painful chapter in history to forge a new path based on cooperation and mutual respect. In Canada, the government formally acknowledged the mistreatment of Japanese Canadians, issuing official apologies and launching compensation programs starting in the late 1980s. Meanwhile, Japan focused on rebuilding its economy and transforming into a modern democracy, laying the groundwork for stronger international partnerships, including with Canada. As the decades passed, trade between the two countries grew significantly. Japan's rapid industrial and technological expansion after World War II created new opportunities for Canada, particularly in supplying natural resources. Over time, Canada became a major exporter of energy, minerals, and agricultural products to Japan, while Japan, in turn, became a key supplier of automobiles, machinery, and advanced technology. According to Global Affairs Canada, by 2021, the total value of goods exchanged between the two nations reached 19.1 billion Canadian dollars, with Canada exporting around 8.1 billion Canadian dollars worth of products and importing roughly 11 billion Canadian dollars from Japan. Beyond trade, direct investment between the two nations has also seen steady growth. In 2021, Japanese companies invested approximately 1.4 billion Canadian dollars in various industries across Canada, particularly in the automotive, technology, and energy sectors. At the same time, Canadian investment in Japan reached 0.8 billion Canadian dollars, showing a growing interest in the Japanese market. Cultural and educational ties have strengthened alongside economic connections. Today, more than 50,000 Canadians of Japanese descent contribute to the country's multicultural landscape, and cultural exchanges between the two nations continue to thrive. Whether through academic collaborations, artistic partnerships, or tourism, these interactions help deepen mutual understanding. In 2019 alone, over 300,000 Canadians traveled to Japan, drawn by its rich history, vibrant festivals, and expanding business opportunities. In recent years, the partnership has only grown stronger. Trade between the two countries has been rising steadily by 3 to 5% each year, with total trade volumes reaching approximately 20 billion Canadian dollars in 2022. Japanese companies continue to play a major role in Canada's automotive, energy, and technology industries, while Canada remains a crucial supplier of natural resources, agricultural products, and clean energy solutions to Japan. The collaboration extends beyond business and into cutting-edge innovations in fields like biotechnology, clean energy, and information technology. Both nations are investing in joint projects that not only boost economic growth, but also tackle pressing global challenges such as climate change, cybersecurity, and sustainable development. On the political stage, Canada and Japan often stand side by side, working together in global organizations like the United Nations, the G7, and the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC. Their shared commitment to democracy, human rights, and economic stability has made them reliable partners in addressing international challenges. Through high-level diplomatic visits and regular discussions, both governments continue to strengthen ties, focusing on issues ranging from supply chain security to regional stability in the Asia-Pacific. If you found this video informative, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.